dance, we like to eat, and considering what I see in Africa, we got a thing for gold and diamonds. So nothing wrong with having good stuff. The question becomes, are you possessing stuff at the expense that other people go to bed without eating or having clothes on their back? That's the question. Nothing wrong with having wealth, but you got to know what to do with it. So your accumulation of wealth, it's almost like the Spirit gives you this wealth for you to be able to do something with it for other people, knowing that you are so godly that you know what to do with it. So instead of getting a second car, you may find water for a very thirsty group of people. You may take the money that you would have purchased that other house, because you can only live in one house at a time. Okay, so instead of buying a second house, maybe you take that money and you develop a complex for a group of people to be able to live in. Okay, that is why we are given wealth, but unfortunately sometimes we are given things that we can't handle. And that selfishness creates the relationships that we are now on the planet experiencing. And so the whole purpose behind these mounds that our ancestors developed and created was to be able to understand that there is a life that goes beyond it. These mounds were meant to physically demonstrate these constellations. The same way we talked about Namuratunga, these mounds throughout the world. And by the way, all these mounds face the same exact way. If you were to go above, so now here's the other thing that I want to speak about. The ancient Africans knew exactly where they wanted to go. We know they understood cardinal points. We know that they had latitude and longitude lines, because the Grand Gallery of Khufu's pyramid is built on the 30th parallel longitude east, 30th parallel north. The Grand Gallery is the meridian line. And it's 30-30, 30 north, 30 east. So if they were so exact in developing that Grand Gallery, which is in the middle of the pyramid, they understood and knew how the earth was divided as it relates to the latitude and longitude lines that we have today. They built their systems around 360 degrees, so we know that they understood the circle. And so all of these pyramids in relationship to the world, when our ancestors set off to build them, whether it was here in the United States or whether it was in China. You know, there are pyramids in China.
Yes.
There's pyramids and mounds throughout the world, and you see, you don't have to build the perfect pyramids of Egypt for them to be lines of sight. Because look at Namuratunga, was nothing but stones that were sticking up out the ground. Yet they were lines of sight. You can go to a place called Nabta Playa. There's a gentleman who wrote a book, Black Genesis. Okay? Robert Boval. He also worked with Thomas Brophy. But Thomas Brophy wrote a book called The Origin Map, which talks about the great year, the 26,000 year. Okay? Okay? And in this book, they trace back and come to grips with it. These are two individuals that came to grips with the fact that, yes, Africa civilized the world. And that for thousands of years, they dropped the knowledge and the wisdom that would build all of the technology that we today still use, and in many ways, we are not doing it as good as they did. The fact that that building fell down in Brooklyn, what was it, yesterday?
Yes.
Tells you that they're doing something wrong in their engineering.
Oh yeah.
Because you can't build a building everywhere.
Because it's energy vortexes.
All over the planet. And our ancestors understood this. And by matter of degree, some were sacred, some were secular. But they understood the difference. You don't get secular when it's sacred. You don't get sacred when it's secular. They understood this. Our ancestors understood this. Some people might want to get into the religion of it. I don't get into the religion of it, because religions are the children of spirituality. There's only one spiritual concept. There's only one. That's why it's called universe. One word. There's only one word. Bob Marley says it. Won't you help to sing? This redemption song, the resurrection song, the Asarian song. See, Bob Marley, this is his last song on his last album. The brother was dropping some knowledge, right? Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Have no fear for atomic energy, because none of them can stop the time. See, I think that we give peoples of European descent too much credit.
I know.
They're not that intelligent.
They brainwashed us.
Yes, I mean, the only power they have is the power over our mind. The only thing keeping them in power is us.
Fear.
Because you believe in the illusion. It's like a big bad wolf.
Yeah.
And if you believe in the big bad wolf, it doesn't care what type of house that you live in, you're going to be vulnerable for him to dominate.
Fear.
I look at them as children. I talk to them
Dangerous
as-
children.
Yes, and I talk to them as children.
Yeah.
Yes.
And sometimes they're not ready for a lot of the things that we would like to say.
No, thank you.
And there are times that we need not speak. Because there are those that know the truth, or think they know the truth, or have a sense of the truth. But when they hear us, then they know not only the truth, but they know that we know it, and that becomes very dangerous. That's in the Matrix. Sister Sophia Stewart.
Know that you know.
Yes.
Say again?
They can look at you and know that you know.
Yeah.
And you can look at his one and say, well, he's dead. Is it that one?
Yeah. In the Matrix, remember in the scene where there's a group that knows, and then in the middle there's a whole group of people that are just existing, and then there's the ones that know that they don't know, but know that you know. That's what Sophia Stewart was talking about. By the way, as you probably already know, Sophia Stewart's name of her book was called The Third Eye.
They stole it. They stole it.
And so that and The Terminator, which is also very interesting. But when you look at ancient America, in 1984, Dr. Van Sertima brought 40 people to Mexico, and I was one of them. And we studied the African presence in America, 1984, July of 1984.
That's same month my father passed.
Is that right? Okay. 1984. Because it was a year after I'd gone to Egypt, to Kemet. I went the first time with Dr. Ben in 83. And it was a blessing because Kemet was very fresh still in my mind when I went to Mexico in 84. And Dr. Van Sertima would have a lecture at night, and we would visit. And Dr. Van Sertima did for us in Mexico what Dr. Ben did for us in Egypt. He cut short a lot of the errors that he made thinking something was there. So he took us directly where we needed to go. We saw not one stone head, not two stone heads. We saw 8 stone heads. And there was one stone head that people were kidding me about because it has a space in its teeth. He said, that doesn't look like you. And so, those are the stone heads we saw. So when people say they had very dull tools and that's why the nose was broad and the lips were big, well, it took, what kind of tool would put a space in between the two and make the face smile? Because you couldn't see the space if it didn't smile. He took us to Teotihuacan, right outside Ciudad de Mexico City, right? Ciudad de Mexico. Mexico City, right outside Teotihuacan. Pyramid of the Sun, Pyramid of the Moon. He took us to Palenque, to the Temple of the Inscription, where there is evidence of a Tomohuancan, which was their pharaoh. Tomohuancan buried in this sarcophagus.